Hey, hello, how's it going? I just wanted to share an update video. I had shared in the past that I had Lyme disease, and I just wanted to share that I found out here just recently that I don't have Lyme disease. I actually have been dealing with something else, and I just wanted to share about that and put some information out there so maybe this can help some other people as well. But back in 2013, I came down with some really bad symptoms, had to go to the emergency room. Actually, it felt like I was dying. I felt like, a lot of stomach problems, and it also felt like something was going on, in my brain, like pain and just maybe like I had a stroke or something, but I didn't know what happened. But basically, I went to the emergency room. They said nothing's wrong with you. So, come to find out that I did look stuff up online, and I've always been healthy as far as what I thought health was, eating fruits and vegetables every day, juicing and stuff, and eating brown rice, eating like whole grain bread, and eating organic stuff, the best that I could, and that's how I'd been eating. And so come to find out though that I looked up online because I just continued to suffer with these symptoms since 2013, like just having a lack of energy when I'm eating like 3 meals a day, and headaches and pain in my body and heart palpitations at times, and what else was I struggling with? Sometimes not being able to sleep well, and stress, like just not being able to handle stress very well like I used to be able to. Like stressful things would just wear me out, and sometimes it could just be anything that seemed like it was stress that before wouldn't have been stress for me, just like doing things for my job. So these things began to build up, and they've kind of progressively gotten worse. Different symptoms, not all of them, but some of them have gotten worse, like just feeling more stress. And so I began to look things up online and found people that talked about Lyme disease and their symptoms, and I thought, well, that must be what I have. And that's a whole nother story. But and how you can even get tested for Lyme disease and still have it, because there's so many different strains of Lyme disease, the bacteria, that the tests that you get might not even show up that you had Lyme disease. So anyways, I thought I had Lyme disease, and so that's what I was working with. But here recently, I found some new information, and I'd actually heard about these things in the past, but my idea of health had always been, hey, I've got to do fruits and vegetables, and fat is not good, and meat is not that good for me, and all of these things.
South Africa go and ask Bangladesh to teach us how to play rugby. No, we go to New Zealand. But yet, but when we ask for dietary guidelines, we go to the United States, which is the most obese nation in the world. It doesn't make sense. And these guidelines, I'm obviously going to summarize them briefly. Make starchy foods the basis of most meals, and that fits with the US dietary guidelines. Eat plenty of vegetables and fruits every day. And I've got no complaint with the problem vegetables, but fruits are a problem because they're high in carbohydrate and sometimes fructose, but they aren't high in nutrients, as I would show you. Eat fat sparingly, so the advice again is to reduce carb. And what I'm going to show you, in any insulin-resistant population, this is the perfect prescription for obesity and type 2 diabetes. But what insulin resistance does is cause you to become very sick, whether you're obese or whether you're lean and ingesting a high carbohydrate diet. So it's slightly different component. So we've got the abnormal apostat function, which is driving obesity, and then we've got insulin resistance, which is making you really sick. And you can be insulin resistant without being fat. So the apostat might be working properly, but you're still dying because you're insulin resistant eating a high carbohydrate diet. In the bloodstream, we only have a tiny amount of glucose. And a great emphasis was made on how important glucose is to our survival and so on. Well, it's really interesting that we contain so little glucose in the bloodstream. If glucose is such a crucial component for our health, why do we have so little of it in the bloodstream? But the reality is, to keep the brain going, God or whomever decided that you just need 5 little grams of glucose in the bloodstream. That's all. The human has evolved to get rid of the carbohydrate as quickly as possible because it's toxic. High glucose levels are toxic. So what the body does is it allows the blood glucose to rise a little bit, and then it excretes insulin from the pancreas. And so after the meal, within the first 15 minutes or so, what happens in your body is that you have circulating now lots of glucose and lots of insulin. And it's that combination which now is going to drive the storage of that carbohydrate throughout the body. And the first site that is impinged is the liver. And the liver is going to take up that carbohydrate and store it, some as glucose or glycogen, but most of it is going to be converted to fat. And particularly if you had sugar in your tea, sugar contains fructose, and the only thing that fructose can be converted is to triglyceride in the liver. That's it.
That is the best news ever. I am never going to have a heart attack.
You're not going to die of a heart attack or a stroke, that's for sure.
That's awesome.
And the rest, the liver starts to convert that carbohydrate into fat and exports the fat to the fat cells, where they're going to store the excess carbohydrate that can't be immediately stored in the liver or in the muscles because there's small capacity. So that fat storage occurs because of the hormone insulin. And insulin is the fat-building hormone. It's critically important to understand that, because we hear a lot of people talk about obesity, and if they don't mention insulin as the first hormone of importance, they're missing the point. So insulin drives the fat into the fat cells, but it's worse because it also prevents the fat from being used. So whenever your fat cells, whenever your insulin levels are high, you prevent the fat from being used as a fuel, and you just burn the carbohydrate that you've recently eaten.
The first recorded heart attack in America, a lot of us don't know this, was in 1921. Prior to 1921, there was no recorded heart attack in a hospital. I mean, isn't that amazing? Yet today there's like 700,000 a year. So what happened from 1921 to current day? What happened was massive change in how we ate and our food supply.
I thought that, fruits and vegetables are the best, but what I've come to find out is that I was actually nutrient deficient, and I began eating this diet of fat and grass-fed beef protein and eating some even liver, and I found some raw milk, which milk in the store that you buy, that's pasteurized, it's heated up, so you've lost a lot of the like 60 nutrients. So basically I've been short, and this is what I've realized, is I haven't been getting key nutrients like vitamin A and vitamin B6 and vitamin B12. My camera died, had to readjust. But you're not going to get the nutrients from synthetic injections and B12s and all of these things. It's going to be toxic when you try to get these vitamins synthetically. So I'm missing out on these key nutrients, like I said, vitamin A and vitamin B6, and vitamin B12 and vitamin D, all of these things that come naturally through animal products, not through plant products. You're not getting these key vitamins that you need, But I felt the effects in eating this diet already. My depression has just vanished. My anxiety is pretty much gone. And I've noticed that I've been going out and things that would seem to make me worry more and stress out a little bit more for really no reason. Those things are gone, and I'm feeling like I'm handling stress all of a sudden much better. I feel all around better. I went to the gym yesterday and worked out, felt like I had tons of energy and more energy to go.
The Eskimos ate 90% of their diet in the form of saturated fat. This is documented scientific fact, and they had no heart disease. the more your body's burning fat for fuel, the more you're getting saturated fat, the healthier you are. The more you're burning sugar and the less cholesterol and the less saturated fat, the lower your energy is going to be and the less hormones you're going to have. And this is biology 101.
So the idea that fat and cholesterol cause heart disease comes from 1952 from the diet heart hypothesis. A hypothesis is not the truth. It's only an idea. It has to be proven. To prove a hypothesis takes a long time. Science doesn't work fast. And while science was working on this hypothesis, the governments in the Western world have fully committed to it. The media touted a new breakthrough, that this is the truth. And all sorts of commercial companies jumped on the bandwagon. Pharmaceutical industry is making billions on this hypothesis. Food industry is making billions. Medical industry is making billions. Western governments are making billions. It has been proven wrong for the last 30 years. But because our political and commercial machine has committed to this hypothesis, they work very hard not to allow the population to know the truth. That dietary cholesterol and animal fats have nothing to do with heart disease. Low blood cholesterol is dangerous. Low blood cholesterol, we'll talk more about it, not high blood cholesterol. Old people who have high levels of cholesterol have 100% here, no dementia, no Alzheimer's disease. They're healthy, they're sprightly, and they look after themselves, these people. So when you start reducing blood cholesterol levels, you're putting brain under grave danger. Because brain has cell regeneration processes going on all the time. Cells in the brain do die, and they get replaced by newly born cells. These processes are very active. And these new baby cells need building materials to be made from. They have to be made from cholesterol, saturated fats, proteins, glyconutrients, and some other things, but a large percent is fat and cholesterol. And if the blood cholesterol is low, the brain is not getting enough to maintain its structure and to function properly. People with low blood cholesterol have aggressive personalities and poor self-control. Because in order to form memories in the brain, synapses have to be formed. The cells in the brain have long arms. They grow long arms to communicate with each other. And when the two arms of two cells come together, they have to do this. They have to create a synapse here and a synapse here, and they have to connect. Now, the synapses are almost exclusively made out of cholesterol and saturated fat. If your blood cholesterol is low, that is the only place your brain can get cholesterol from. It can manufacture some, but not enough. Then the brain can't form these synapses. So the cells cannot connect with each other. As a result, the person cannot create memories. And it is the short-term memory that suffers. The person might remember what happened in the childhood, because those synapses were formed in the childhood, but he doesn't remember what he had for breakfast, and where he put his car keys, or where he left his hat, or his shoes, or something else. The short-term memory is not being formed, because the brain doesn't have enough building materials, resources, to create memories. People with low blood cholesterol suffer from infections 3 times more, and they die from infections much more often than people with normal and high level of cholesterol. We cannot fight infections without cholesterol. Every cell, about 70% of every cell are membranes. So you can do the calculations yourself. What percent of your body is actually cholesterol and saturated fat? It is more than 50%. You are made from cholesterol. It is a structural element of every cell in your body. And you are made from saturated fats. And because the cells in the body constantly die and get replaced by newly born cells, building materials are required to build those new baby cells from, to give birth to them. So our bodies require large amounts of cholesterol all the time for that process, and saturated fats as well. There are people in whom this factory in the liver is broken because they are too toxic, or they have nutritional deficiencies. And these are GAPS people. Many GAPS people have low blood cholesterol because they're too toxic, and this machine is broken in the liver. These people cannot handle stress. They have nervous breakdowns. They start crying and weeping and inconsolable. Children, adults, these people, they fly off the handle, or they become aggressive, or they attack. And that is a part of any mental illness.
I really see this broken down as simply the love for money. That's what has caused all of these things, because you can look at what's the reason for the factory farming. It's so that profits can be increased. And it's not really them thinking about your health when they're doing the things that they're doing with the factory farming. I didn't have Lyme disease. I was nutritionally deficient, and I just wanted to share this. So maybe you've been doing some of the same things I've done as far as diet, and you're feeling some of the same symptoms. Really look into this. You can look up primal diet, carnivore diet. That's what it is, eating higher fat and more protein, and like I said, eat raw eggs as well, and that's safe because I know that they're good eggs where I get my eggs from, and I even have chickens of my own, so I know that the eggs are good because the chickens are healthy, so I'm not going to get salmonella or anything like that, and never have. So feeling great, like I said, and I just can't believe it. I'm so thankful to be back on a natural diet. This is the natural diet that man would have been eating. We're not meant to eat the grain and the vegetables. It's a diet for slaves, and that's actually was the plan, was to put people on this to get you sick, to dumb you down so that you're not able to think clearly, you're not able to reach your full potential, and you're not able to really, stand up against people that want to control you. And that's what this is all about. It's about the love of money, it's about power and control, and it's not about thinking about you, because humans are an apex predator, and that's all that the people are doing. They're just being predators, and the way that they know how to be. So if you want to be smarter, and you want to live naturally, and you want to connect more with God, you've got to eat meat. You got to kill animals, and you have to eat meat, and they're fat, and then you'll have a healthy body and brain, and then you'll be able to connect more spiritually, because that is health. Health is being able to connect spiritually and having all of that understanding. And when you don't have that, if you don't have the proper nutrition and foods, then you're not going to be able to do that. Thanks for watching.